I'm not really used to sitting like this for a long period of time, which is what online consultations, the webinars and lockdown has presented to me. And for those who work at a desk, at a computer for a longer period of time, you're probably used to being in positions where you feel like you're swirled into your screen. You know, you're really getting your head really involved. You're next thing you know, you're like this, or with your iPad, and obviously you will get some neck pain. As mentioned, sometimes stretches give a bit of short-term relief. For those that maybe that's not worked for them as much during lockdown, try these exercises. So it is a stretch, but you also work your upper back muscles here. So all you need is to sit down. So you can do this when seated. So all you do is put your hands behind your head, you can interlock your fingers, and all you're doing is leaning back against your chair, and you're separating your elbows away from each other and squeezing your shoulder blades together. So I do get a stretch in my chest, and what I'm doing with the chairs, I'm trying to lean back like so, so I'm doing the opposite of this movement. I'm also getting a good contraction in between my shoulder blades, or my upper back and shoulder muscles as well while doing this. And I'm just holding this a little bit for 10 to 15 seconds, so I'm not feeling too bad today with regards to my neck pain. This time I'm focusing on neck extension, which is where my neck goes up towards the ceiling, which is the opposite of neck flexion. So neck flexion is something that we do where we're sat at our desk for a long period of time. Now we want to do the opposite. So this is an isometric exercise. So an isometric exercise is where there's a muscle contraction without any movement. So my hand goes behind my head. You can use two if you want to, similar to the seated thoracic extension. I'm going to use one, place my hand behind the back of my head, and I'm just pushing back with my head against my hand. So my head movement is going back and up towards the ceiling ever so slightly, and my hand is pushing forwards. So it is just very simple, just pushing like that and just maintaining that position there. I can also do lateral flexion of your neck. So lateral flexion is where I'm just tilting my head, bring my ear to my shoulder. This time my hand will be placed on the side of my head, just kind of cupping my ear with my fingers on my side of my head, and all I'm doing with my neck is I'm pushing down, my hands going the opposite way. So again, just pushing gently, just to get enough of a contraction, nothing too crazy. This is a dynamic hamstring and hip flexor stretch. It's dynamic because it's got movement with it. So this I find more effective for me, and find it more effective for a lot of my patients, where sometimes static stretching doesn't really cut the mustard with regards to alleviating some symptoms. So with movement, we actually get a bit of force, we can actually generate a stronger stretch. So we've got hamstring and hip flexor stretch. So I'm going to start with my right hamstring and my left hip flexor. So first of all, I'm in a half kneeling position, and secondly, I need to make sure that my pelvis is rotated backwards slightly. I don't want it rotated forward, so I'm not sticking my hips out and arching my lower back. I want to contract my glute muscles to rotate my pelvis this way. That's where I get that hip flexor stretch. If I don't do that, I can move easily. If I get that rotation with my pelvis, you can see the difference just there. I'm quite tight at my hip flexors. So, first part of this is the forward movement for the hip flexor. So I'm getting a stretch through here, and then when moving backwards, I'm just leaning forwards with my back, touching the floor with my hands, and I'm just gently bending this knee, straightening this knee rather. So I've got a slight bend. I'm quite tight in my hamstrings. If you can straighten the knee and feel a stretch and reach forward more with your back, then so be it. As long as you get that stretch and you're cycling through this movement, like so, you're going to get the benefits of this dynamic stretch in both the hip flexor and the hamstring. So the second dynamic stretch is for my trunk as well as my hip flexor and hamstring. So my side trunk is through here and my side here. So this is going to involve a little bit more movement. It's not that complicated, I promise. So same things before. I'm going to be in this half kneeling position. I'm going to rotate my pelvis, so I've got that hip flexor stretch. So all you're doing is adding one small movement. As I do the hip flexor stretch, when I move forwards, what I'm doing is reaching over with my hand to create a stretch through my trunk. So as I lean forwards for here, I'm just reaching over like so and going to the hamstring stretch and just cycling again, just having a good rhythm, nice slow movement like so. From a front view, what you'll see is that I'm trying to keep my balance. This might be a tricky thing for you, but to do that all you need to do is make sure your hip, knee, foot's in one straight line. You're not kind of going like this, that's a bit excessive, but you're not trying to distort that position. Once you do that, you might not feel the stretch and you might feel like you're falling over. So again, it's just with control. So going to the hip flexor and trunk stretch, just leaning over, but I'm keeping that position all the time. I'm not really trying to reach over like this. I don't want to be doing this at all. I'm just leaning gently over and I create a nice long stretch through here as I do that movement, which is lateral flexion of your trunk. We've now got the upper trap trunk. This is a bit of a personal favourite of mine. It works these muscles all the way through here. So the upper traps at the side of your neck, they help with a lot of movement of the shoulder. These are main culprits behind the pain that people tell me about when they're sat at the desk with regards to shoulders. Lots of pain through the neck. And yes, I do loads of stretching like this, like I've experienced, like so, and it gives them that short-term relief. But if we sat at our desk for such a long period of time, maybe we need to start strengthening our muscles to deal with that load, how much they're working for that long. So this is a very simple exercise. This dumbbell is about 5-6 kilograms. What I'm doing is making sure my hand is a little bit away from my side. I'm not keeping it close, just keeping it a bit of a distance away. I'm just bringing my shoulder to my ear. Very, very simple. So I'm not changing my position of my torso. I'm not doing this, for example. I'm not yanking it up like so. I'm just controlling that movement as much as I can. I'm not even bringing my head to my ear. Now, if you don't have any dumbbells, it's not a problem. Obviously, we can't go to the gym. So, this is what I made earlier. I've got just a weight in my bag, this Bag for Life. You don't need a weight. You can just use household objects to do this. Now, I actually prefer doing this with the Bag for Life because if you try not to make contact with your body with the bag, you'll keep yourself in that position as I did with the dumbbell. So that cue there of not keeping that bag from touching you makes you work the upper traps a lot more.